allowing me to come here and speak to all these beautiful women. I'm really excited that I have all these women who have to listen to me. In my house, that's a rarity, so I'm going to take advantage of this. But what I wanted to talk about is one of my members came up to me a couple of weeks ago, and she said, you know, I'm upset that you never see in the Bible where God talks to a woman. And so I began to think about that, and I began to search it, and it began to frustrate me, but I did find something. You know in the Bible where it says that God took a rib from Adam, and he laid him down, and then he created Eve. If you remember, the next verse says that he brought Eve to Adam. And what that shows us is that in that time, God spent some time alone with Eve. Now, we don't know what God told her, but Adam was asleep. So the first thing I want all you beautiful women to understand is that your time with God is sacred and you don't have to share it with a man. And so he spent some time with her, and I began to wonder. I said, you know what, I wonder what God said to Eve in that time. It's not recorded, but I wanted to try to figure it out. So I began to look through the Bible and try to find some places where we might get a clue as to what God said to her in that moment. So the first woman I looked at was Sarah. And you know, Sarah, or Sarai at that time her name was, she was married to a man who was told by God to leave his family and go into this strange land. She was married to a dreamer. She was married to a man who had this big idea, and he just wanted to go pursue it at all costs. And some of you women are married to that man. That man who has just got this great big idea, and he's focused on that so much, and he just wants to go out and do it. And so in the course of God talking to this man, he tells this man that you will have children. Sarah was 80. And Sarah began to laugh. And the second thing I want you ladies to understand is, if God chooses you for something great, don't look around at your situation and laugh at it. If God chose you, it is because you are well equipped and well able. Don't look at your background. Don't look at your age, your race, your educational status. If God chose you to do it, if he put it in your heart, if he put it in your realm of possibility, then that means that he thinks you're able to do it. So whatever God has shown you, understand that he wouldn't have shown it to you if you weren't able. The next thing that happens with Sarah is that as she's in this strange land, she's following this man that she loves, still waiting for this child that God promised. The Bible says that she encounters this king. And this king looks at Sarah at 80 plus years old. And this king with a harem full of women says, I want her. Now think about that. 80 years old. But because she has a purpose from God in her life, she is beautiful to men. Now, I don't want to discourage you. There are some great products here. But ladies, let me help you understand that nothing is more attractive to a man than a woman who doesn't have time for it. A woman who is on her way to something. I mean, it is true. A woman who has something that is waking her up in the morning and causing her to smile. Because every man in here who's married will tell you he saw her smiling at something. And it wasn't him. The focus wasn't him. So understand that when God puts a purpose in your heart and in your life, your beauty from the inside begins to well up and show up on the outside. And then you can go to Denise and get some of these wonderful products, and it just accentuates what God has put on your life. The last one I want to talk about is Mary. The Bible says, I don't know if you all remember that part in the Bible where Mary had went to the Passover and she had left and she found that Jesus was 3 days behind. And so then Mary goes back to find her son, asking questions of the doctors and the lawyers. Now, how many of you have children? Okay? Think about it. If your 12 or 13-year-old had left you for 3 days finally found her. Have you ever had one of those moments where you want to hug them and then kill them? Well, that's the moment that Mary had. But Mary stopped for a minute and she began to look at what Jesus was doing. And she found, the Bible says that she looked at him after he said, I must be about my Father's work. She looked at him and she held it in her heart, is what the Bible says. She saw her son doing this great thing that God had called him to do. The great thing that God had told her about even before his birth. And she held it in her heart. The fourth thing I want you to understand is that whatever God has called you to, hold it in your heart. Don't let anyone take it away from you. Even in those scary, discouraging, fretful, frustrating moments, hold it in your heart. Because God will bring it to pass. And then this is one last thing I want to share. There's a common misnomer that we talk about in our church all the time. We have all thought that we have to love ourselves before we can love someone else. That's not true. The Bible says that that we love because God first loved us. Because you can't give from an empty well. And there's a lot of you who are trying to love yourself, but your well is empty. You have got to receive love. You've got to let those people who love you and truly love you love on you and fill that well up. You must receive love before you can give love. And you must receive the right kind of love that is uplifting and encouraging. Because if you don't receive the right kind of love, you'll give out the wrong kind of love. So the thing is, there are a lot of great people in here. And I've walked around and met a lot of people that really care about you and your well-being. You can go over to the doctor's shoes over there at the chiropractic, and they will make sure that you're in good health and you feel good. You can go over here, and I forgot your name, to the water lady, and she'll make sure that you feel refreshed. Or my brother here, he'll make sure that you work out just right and feel good. But people that love you and encourage you, let them love you. Let the love of God be in your well so that you can give it out. That's all I have to say. Thank you for your time. May God bless you and keep you.